Hi, I'm Tony, and I'm going to walk you through everything you'll need to know to get up and running with QromaFlip. Let's get started. After you've installed and licensed the app, you should see this window in the center of your screen, and I'll go over each of the four panels of QromaFlip's interface. This top section is the toolbar, and it provides access to settings like the Relationship Manager, the Quick Entry Names Manager, and the Custom Places presets. It also has a settings panel that controls where your TIFF file gets stored and how it will be named. This large panel is called the drop zone, and that's how we get the images into QromaFlip. To the right is the inspector, which will show you any metadata that might be already embedded in your front image, and it can allow you to control any new metadata that gets entered. This last panel at the bottom is for natural language tagging, where you can use voice recognition to describe what's going on in the photo, and QromaFlip will detect things like dates, locations, and people, and then create the appropriate metadata for you. Let's start by first setting a few preferences. Tap on this gear icon to reveal this preference panel. The first setting controls how your new TIFF files will be named. By default, we use the front images file name as the basis for the new file name, and then we append it with the word MultiPage. If you click Use Date, QromaFlip will name the file based on the metadata date of the photo. This is particularly useful if you want to organize your photos by the date they were taken. This next setting controls where the new file will be saved. Now, by default, we store the new file on the desktop. If you tap on this button, though, QromaFlip will store its new files in your Documents folder inside another folder called QromaFlip. When your settings are complete, make sure to tap the Save button. Otherwise, you can tap the gear button again to exit without saving changes. Now, let's get on to the business of making multi-page TIFFs. You will notice that without any images brought into QromaFlip, all the buttons in the inspector and the natural language panel are disabled. Let's add a couple of images to make things come alive. First, I'll drag and drop an image to the front, and as I do, I'll see a preview of it. I'll do the same for the back. Now, if I make a mistake, I can right-click on any image to reveal this menu that will allow me to clear that image if I need to. For now, this looks good. Now, if I wanted to, I could simply tap the Save button, and QromaFlip will turn these two images into a single file multi-page TIFF. Let's do it and see what happens. There we go. That little sound means that my file has been saved and my interface is again cleared. Let's open the file and see what we got. So here's my TIFF image, and you'll see that I have my front and back images as separate pages. So this looks good, but if I now look at the file information, I can see that this image doesn't have any searchable metadata describing what's going on in the photo. Let's go back to QromaFlip and add some metadata. Before we start, let's go over these buttons at the top of the toolbar. They include settings that will make it easier to add metadata to my TIFF file. First, click on this icon that looks like three people connected to each other. This is the Relationship Manager, and it allows you to predefine relationships that you have so that later when you use natural language tagging, you can use familial words like mom and dad to describe people in your photos, and then QromaFlip will automatically add their full names to the photo metadata. The way QromaFlip knows about your family is through what we call relationship sentences, and I've started one for myself right here. The way the Relationship Manager works is by mapping a noun or nouns to one or more full names. So for example, I have mapped the words I and me to my full name, and I've separated them with an equal sign. Notice that I separated the multiple nouns with a comma. Now, whenever I use the word I or me in the description, QromaFlip knows to add my name to the photo metadata. You can also map plural nouns to multiple people. For example, I can map the noun grandparents to two people simply by separating their names with a comma. Now, whenever I use the word grandparents to describe people in my photos, both of their names will be added. So what do I do if I have two uncles or two sisters? Well, that's easy too. Just add them as separate relationship sentences just like this. Now, when I create my description and I want this photo to be tagged with my Uncle Roger, I just say Uncle Roger in the description and QromaFlip will pick the right uncle. Here's a few more examples. Once you're done writing these simple relationship sentences, make sure to tap the Save button to store them inside QromaFlip. Next, let's tap on this single person icon to reveal my names list. This panel allows me to import names of people that are likely to be in my photos and allows me to add their names quickly through auto-completion in the Keywords panel. Right away, I can see that I have an option to enable contacts lookup. Checking this box allows QromaFlip to read all the contacts on your computer and then use them for autofill in the Keywords panel. If most of the people you are likely to tag are in your contacts, you can simply turn this on and be done. Now, I should mention a few things about privacy while we're here. We access your contacts only for the purpose of allowing you to enter those names more easily in your keywords. We do this work completely locally and do not transmit your contacts to our site or anywhere else. Also, we access only the names in your contacts and no other information. Okay, so what if you have names of people that you might want to be tagging that are not in your contacts? Well, that's easy. Just type them into this field, separating each with a carriage return, and they will be available for easy entry later. When you're done with your list, make sure to tap the Save button to store your name settings. Finally, let's look at the Custom Places presets. Now, when we talk about natural language tagging, you will learn that QromaFlip has some powerful capabilities for detecting location names that you might say during your description of the photo. Storing custom places is also a way to save specific addresses or other locations so that you can quickly fill in 6 pieces of metadata in one shot. Let's see how it's done. Tap on the map pin icon to reveal the Custom Places tool. This is going to allow me to use the map to search for particular locations and then store them as presets. I'm first going to search for a place where many of my photos are located. Once I've entered the words, I will tap the return key to look for it. There it is, and this looks spot on. I will now tap the Apply button to drop this down into my Custom Places list, where it will store the geo coordinates and other location data. Now, notice that my location name is to the left of the equal sign. I can edit this text to anything that I like, and it will be saved in the location metadata when I save my TIFF file. Now, I'm just going to clean this up a bit to make it look proper. There we go. Now I just need to tap the Save button to store this custom preset. Once this is done, I can access and apply this metadata by tapping on this second map pin icon in the inspector and picking it from my drop-down list. Okay, so now that we're up to speed with custom settings, let's take a look at natural language tagging to see how it makes it easy to automatically tag your images based on your description. First, let's talk about voice recognition. Now, QromaFlip is designed to work with your Mac's built-in voice recognition system, and this makes it much easier to enter in your descriptions. Let's first set this up. Start by opening your system preferences and then tapping on Keyboard. Next, tap on Dictation and make sure that this is turned on. Over on the left, you'll be able to select which microphone you want to use if you have more than one installed. I would also recommend leaving Use Enhanced Dictation off. The reason for this is that if you use offline recognition, which is enabled when this button is checked, the voice recognition engine will not be able to accurately recognize names in your contacts, and some of these names might be used for tagging photos. Lastly, make note of the shortcut trigger that is used to turn on and off voice recognition. For me, it's tapping the right command button twice. Now, let's go back to QromaFlip, and I have my 2 images in the image well, and I'm going to place my cursor right inside the natural language panel. Now, if I don't want to use voice recognition, you can just simply type right into this field. Since I find it easier, I'm going to tap on my command button twice to start the voice recognition engine, and then I'm going to give a description of what's going on in the photo. Now, I recommend that you have a good understanding of what you're going to say before you turn this on, because you'll be surprised at how tongue-tied you'll get once it's showtime. I like to use a description that contains something about when the photo was taken, where it was taken, and who's in it. Let's try with this photo. This is a birthday card that was sent in January of 1911 to my wife's aunt in Skidmore, Missouri. Once the description is here and the voice recognition system is turned off, I can look and see if there's anything in here that I want to clean up. That looks good. Now I'm going to tap on the Recognize button, and QromaFlip's natural language tagging engine will detect things like the dates, locations, and people. It places the results down in the status bar. Now, if that looks good, I'm going to tap on the Apply button to transfer this metadata to the inspector. Here, I'll have one last chance to make any changes to the metadata before it gets written out to file. Now, since this looks good, I'm just going to go ahead and save it. That's it. Just like that, I've got a multi-page TIFF that contains both sides of my photo and enough searchable metadata to make sure that I'll find this photo with a variety of search terms. There are some cases where you might only need to add or edit some metadata in your photos, and that's where direct editing comes in. Let's take a look. Once you've dropped the front and back image into the drop zones, the inspector is enabled, and you can fill in or edit any of the fields before saving out the TIFF image. I can edit any of the photo description by typing into this field. I can also use location search to search for a new location. If it's correct, I can apply it to the location data. I can also use this marker to access my pre-stored locations and apply it with a single selection. I can add or correct a date inside this date field. Now, this field can take a variety of date formats. It can take, of course, a full date, but what if I only knew the year it was taken? Well, I can just put the year in and then hit Tab, and QromaFlip will do the rest. I can also put in just a month in a year or just a season in a year, and we'll figure out the rest. Just put the data in and then hit Tab, and you'll see the new date. Finally, you can add keyword metadata inside this field. If you turned on contacts or added names in the Names panel, you'll be able to autofill most of their names just by typing in a few letters. Now, you're not limited to the pre-stored names that are in this panel. You can type out a full name or any other keyword you want to store as searchable metadata. Just type in the name and then hit the Tab key to accept it, and then add more as needed. Once you're done, just tap the Save button and all the metadata gets embedded into a TIFF file. Okay, so that's all you need to know to get up and running with QromaFlip. Pretty easy, right? Well, if you have some more questions, there are a couple resources that you can use. First of all, there's a full manual inside the disk image that you use to download QromaFlip. That manual goes into a lot more details on some of the things that I covered here. Finally, if you have some questions, we offer free technical support. Go to our website and open up a support ticket, and we'll get back to you within one day. I hope you really enjoy using QromaFlip. Thank you.